Okay, so we live in a world where everyone and everything is fighting for our attention, right? So how do companies actually get you to click, to buy, to keep scrolling? Well, the answer is pretty fascinating. It's a science called neuromarketing, and it's all about tapping directly into your subconscious mind.
Forget about what people say they want. Nowadays, companies are going straight to the source. They're looking at the brain's raw, unfiltered reactions to figure out what really makes us tick online.
You know that feeling, right? When you use an app and it just feels intuitive, like it's reading your mind. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not magic. It's the result of a very, very deliberate scientific process.
So let's pull back the curtain and take a look at what's really going on inside your head when you're scrolling, shopping, and clicking away.
For years, the old way of doing things was just to ask people what they liked. The problem is, what we say in a survey isn't always the whole truth. It's not that we're lying exactly, but our answers are often colored by what we think we're supposed to say.
And that's because the real decision maker, the part of us that's truly in control, well, it's not the logical part of our brain. The real boss is the subconscious.
And the scale of this is just huge. Think about this. An estimated 95% of our decisions are driven by gut feelings, emotions, and mental shortcuts that we're not even aware of. 95%.
And that's the key difference right there. Old school methods listen to your conscious, thinking brain. Neuromarketing, on the other hand, finds a way to listen directly to your subconscious, feeling brain. It gets past all the noise to uncover what truly motivates you.
So how in the world do they listen to your subconscious? It sounds a little like sci-fi, but the tools are very real. Let's look at how they actually decode our choices.
First up, you've got eye tracking. And yeah, it's pretty much what it sounds like. By following where your eyes go on a screen, researchers can create these things called heat maps. They show exactly what you're looking at, what you're drawn to, and maybe even more importantly, what parts of the page you're completely ignoring.
Then you have EEG. The easiest way to think about it is like a mood ring for your brain. By measuring the electrical waves, it can tell if you're engaged, or maybe confused, or even bored while you're using an app. It's literally tracking your emotional journey in real time.
And all this data is then used to tap into the brain's favorite thing, shortcuts. We call them cognitive biases. See, our brains are lazy. They love shortcuts to save energy. For instance, scarcity, seeing only 2 rooms left. That triggers our fear of missing out, our FOMO. Social proof, seeing join 2 million users, makes us feel safe, like we're making the right choice. Loss aversion is a big one. Our brains hate losing something we feel we already own, which is why free trials are so effective. And finally, anchoring, where you see a high price crossed out next to a sale price. It instantly makes the deal look way better than it might actually be.
Okay, so that's the theory. But does this stuff actually work out in the real world? Let's dive into a couple of amazing examples where these insights totally change the game for major brands.
All right, first up, Cheetos. Believe it or not, Frito-Lay was having some sales trouble, so they did the usual thing. They held focus groups. And in those groups, people were super clear. They hated that messy orange dust, the stuff that gets all over your fingers. But, and this is a great but, when they hooked people up to those EEG machines, their brains told a totally different story. The scans picked up on what researchers called a sense of giddy subversion. Turns out, people's brains secretly loved the mischievous, childish fun of getting a little messy.
So Frito-Lay took a gamble. They decided to trust the brain data, not the survey data. They launched new ad campaigns that actually celebrated the mess. And the result? Sales skyrocketed by over 11%, nearly doubling their goal. Goes to show you, the brain knew best all along.
And it was a really similar story with PayPal. When they asked users, people said their #1 priority was safety and security. But the brain scans showed a much stronger positive reaction to messages about speed and convenience. So PayPal shifted its messaging and bam, a huge jump in people actually finishing their transaction.
Now, as powerful as all this is right now, we are really just scratching the surface. With new tech like artificial intelligence coming online, neuromarketing is about to get way more personal and a lot more predictive.
I mean, just imagine this, an app using AI and your webcam to see that you're hesitating on a purchase. It senses your doubts, so it flashes a "only 2 left" message to trigger that scarcity bias at the perfect moment. Or what about an AI that knows what you want before you even know you want it, and then anchors you to a high-priced item to make everything else look like a bargain? This isn't science fiction, folks. This is really where things are headed.
So this all leads to a really big question, doesn't it?
On one hand, this technology could create perfectly smooth, helpful, even empathetic experiences for us. But on the other, it raises some serious ethical red flags about privacy and influence.
So let's get right into it. What really makes us tick when we're online? You know, what's behind that click, that purchase, or that endless scroll? It feels like a total mystery, but the answer, well, it's hiding in plain sight, right inside our own heads. You know that feeling, right? It's kind of spooky. An ad pops up for something you were just thinking about, or a website seems to know exactly what you want before you do. It happens all the time, and I promise you, it's not magic. It's science. And there's a name for this whole field, neuromarketing. It's this wild intersection of brain science and marketing, and its whole goal is to figure out our digital behavior by looking straight at our brain's subconscious reactions. It's about getting past what we say we like to find out what our brains actually crave. Yeah, so don't think of it like some crystal ball. It's more of a tool for, understanding the hidden thoughts of users. It's all about getting to that gut feeling that really truly drives our decisions, not just the polite answers we might give in a survey. And here is the absolute kicker. This is the number that makes all of this work. Researchers figure that up to 95% of our decision-making isn't conscious or logical at all. Nope, it's driven by our subconscious, by these little mental shortcuts and emotional gut checks. Our brains are just wired to go with instinct, especially when we're making those split-second choices online. So, our brains are constantly using these secret shortcuts to get through the day. Let's pull back the curtain and look at the secret code marketers use. These are the psychological triggers that make certain websites feel so persuasive. First up is scarcity. This one goes way back. Evolutionarily, our brains are hardwired to see limited stuff as super valuable. And in the digital world, that translates directly into that powerful fear of missing out. Yep, FOMO, which just pushes us to act right now before the chance disappears. Oh, you've seen this a million times, haven't you? Especially on travel sites. A simple little message like, only 2 rooms left. It creates instant urgency. It's a direct line to that subconscious fear of losing out, and boy, does it work. Next, we've got social proof. We're social creatures, right? It's just who we are. So when we're not sure what to do, our first instinct is to look around and see what everyone else is doing. We just automatically trust the wisdom of the crowd. This is a textbook example. When you see that millions of other people have already signed up or bought something, it just validates the choice for you. It feels safer. Our subconscious basically says, hey, if all those people did it, it must be a good idea. Okay, now this next one, this might just be the most powerful principle of them all, loss aversion. Get this, our brains are fundamentally wired to avoid losing things. In fact, research shows that the psychological pain of losing something is roughly twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining that exact same thing. We hate losing more than we love winning. And marketers use this all the time. Just by framing something around what you could miss out on, they tap right into that powerful feeling. It's the secret sauce behind free trials, right? Once you have something, the thought of it being taken away feels like a loss, and you're way more likely to pay to keep it. So these principles are one thing, but how do companies actually know if they're working? Well, they've got a whole high-tech toolkit to literally peek inside our brains and measure our subconscious reactions as they happen. First tool on the box is eye tracking. It's pretty straightforward. By following where your eyes go on a screen, they can create these heat maps of a web page. It shows them exactly what you're looking at, and more importantly, what crucial things, like the Buy Now button, you might be totally ignoring. Next is EEG. And yeah, it looks a little sci-fi. It's basically a cap with a bunch of sensors that measure your brainwaves. By looking at the patterns, researchers can tell if you're engaged, bored, confused, or frustrated second by second. It's like a direct report from your brain. And finally, there's facial coding. This is fascinating. The tech uses a camera to analyze those tiny, involuntary little muscle movements in your face, your microexpressions. It can spot a fleeting moment of subconscious joy or frustration that you might not even know you're feeling. Okay, so to see how all this tech and psychology really comes together, let's look at a classic case study. Let's solve the Cheetos mystery. So here's the situation. Frito-Lay had a big problem. Cheetos sales were tanking. And when they brought people into focus groups to ask them what was wrong, they kept hearing the same thing over and over. But that answer, it wasn't helping them sell more Cheetos. And this This is where things get wild. In the focus groups, people said out loud that they hated the messy orange cheese dust on their fingers. But the EEG data, it told a totally different story. When people thought about that orange mess, their brains lit up with a positive emotional response, a feeling the researchers called giddy subversion. People secretly loved the messy part. So Frito-Lay did something pretty gutsy. They completely ignored what people said in the focus groups, and instead, they trusted what their brains showed. They launched a whole new ad campaign called the Orange Underground, and it was all about celebrating that messy, rebellious fun of eating Cheetos. And the result? Oh, it worked. Big time. That one campaign, based on what their brains were really feeling, led to an 11.3% jump in total Cheeto sales. It's proof that digging into the subconscious can have a huge, real-world impact. Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? What does all this mean for us as we're scrolling through our digital lives every single day? Is it all just about tricking us into buying more snacks? Well, the official goal, what the industry will tell you, is that this is all about making the user experience better. By understanding what subconsciously frustrates us, like a confusing checkout form or a button you can't find, they can reduce that mental friction. The idea is to make our digital world smoother, more intuitive, but of course, being able to tap into people's subconscious thoughts, that raises some pretty big ethical questions about influence and, let's be honest, manipulation. To try and deal with this, industry groups like the Neuromarketing Science and Business Association have set up a code of ethics that's supposed to ensure transparency and prevent exploitation. So we now know the brain's secret shortcuts and the high-tech tools being used to map them. As this technology gets smarter and more woven into everything we do online, it really leaves us with one massive question to think about. Who's really in control of your next click?